Ho, 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 everybody. How you doing? Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We're coming to you live today from the Reading Terminal Market, just a few days here before Christmas. My name's Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games of the evening. This is Charlie O'Connor, Philadelphia's #1 beat writer, and Kelly Hinkle, somehow simultaneously on the show and in the chat.
Yeah.
We are here to talk some Flyers from the Reading Terminal Market today.
She's a woman of many talents.
How's everyone doing?
Posting,
if you will.
an onion. Layers.
How's everyone doing today, coming off that, maybe the best 38 and a half minutes the Flyers played all season? And then the third happened.
Were you really that high on their play? I thought they played a very good second
They
period.
played a good second period, which I was like, oh my God.
I thought it was even in the first. They took over in the second, which is crazy for them. It's their worst period.
Sure.
But we saw what happened. They traded the second for the third,
right,
and just kind of gave their second period effort in the third. That's how it went. But yeah, I thought against a very good team that has been good lately, a goalie that has been really good. He came in with like a 9-12.
It's true.
They looked as good as I've seen them for a lot of this season, and just a couple of mistakes. Okay, it's maybe closer than it even should be on the scoreboard, and then, of course, that Kolosov misplay to tie the game at the end of the second, and it was all downhill from there.
It's probably worth noting, which supports your point. They nearly scored a lot more goals in the second period, and they scored their fair share of goals in the second period. They could have scored 2 or 3 more times.
The Couturier squirt across the goal line.
How that did not go in.
I don't know how that didn't go.
It was ridiculous.
Wild.
There were a few really good chances, but then, of course, as good teams do, I think I forgot to mention this. It kind of reminded me of that last Carolina game, where it was like, yeah, Carolina's better, but it's 1-1.
Yeah.
And then in the third, they were like, all right, let's get the hell out of here. And just
we're the better team. Let's play like we
absolutely.
can and then blow their doors off. Yeah, but there are some similarities, to be sure.
So at midnight, like 40 minutes or so after post-game ended last night, we got the roster freeze. And we got word this morning that sometime before midnight last night, Emil Andrae not only was scratched for a few games, gets back into the lineup for Cam York last night. Now, he is, at least for the time being, headed to Lehigh Valley. Andrae sent down, the Flyers tweeted it out at 9:30 this morning, and then I was like, how? I thought that wasn't, oh, okay, they must have just did it last night, and now they're telling us when everyone's awake. That makes sense. Initial reactions.
Yeah, it's real annoying. Real annoying.
And that is all.
It's just, I mean, we were talking about it before the show, like, you just actively made the team worse. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys. That's exactly what I needed from you, because I was having too much fun enjoying the Flyers. So you had to make them worse.
When the best way to defend a move is that, well, they were already making the team worse by not playing him to begin with, so does this really matter that much? When that's the best way to defend a move is to defend it by saying, well, they'd already done the stupid thing. This is just cementing the stupid thing. Then it's a really, really hard move, if not impossible move, to truly defend.
But after the 3 scratches, and he doesn't, I thought he played okay last night, except for 2 kind of glaring mistakes. And, listen, it's a results-based business. You can do all the things that, okay, my underlying numbers are good, and then you go, well, there was a real bad scoring chance, and then an egregious goal scored against you. You're a defenseman. It's your job to prevent that. That's kind of the way it goes. But yeah, if he was going to come out of the lineup anyway, again, then it makes sense to send him down. It's very, very annoying, like Kelly said. I am withholding judgment until after the Christmas break. If they go out west and he is not with them and in the lineup, I will then be retroactively pissed about the situation. As of now, I think there's a couple of logistical things they may be trying to work out, possibly, and I'm going to give them that benefit until after Christmas.
So here's what I've heard based on the reporting I've done. I released a news story that came out this morning. I'm working on a larger piece that's more of a analysis opinion piece, and spoiler alert, I don't like the move, which you'll see in the next maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes.
There's nothing to like.
And there's nothing to like about it. But I can confirm that the roster freeze and the difficulties that come with a roster freeze, which go from last night at 11:59 p.m. to December 28th at 12:01 a.m. So it's like literally when it becomes December 28th is when the roster freeze ends. That did play a part in this decision. That I don't know if they make this decision if there is no roster freeze.
Okay.
So there is that. Basically, they're in a weird spot. And the way the roster freeze works, for those that don't know why they have a roster freeze, it's pretty simple. It's basically something the NHL negotiated with the NHLPA so the players don't have to worry about getting traded or waived or have to relocate during the holiday season. And also, it gives everyone kind of a chance to catch their breath and not have to worry about negotiating and making moves for the week-long period.
It's kind of cool.
Around Christmas.
It's nice.
I actually like
Yeah,
it. I know the people that want trades that but every day hate it. I personally like it.
If you want trade, like as we always say, deadline spur action. We did see a bunch of teams like do
true.
stuff
That's true.
because
Sure.
oh my God, there's going to be 5 days where we can't.
Yeah.
It's like you could have done this at any point, and
It's
you could
fair.
do it at any point after that, up until like March 6th or whatever the hell it is. But like we saw some action, but it just the Flyers didn't participate. I just think in a league where we always say like the owners are constantly taking advantage of the players, it's one of those cool things
That's
that the
nice.
NHL does. Like, and
Yeah, I
for
agree.
us, like. The NBA, it's basically their reopening night is Christmas.
Yeah.
The NFL now getting in on Christmas. We get Christmas off. It's pretty. It's a nice thing.
No
for the
complaints there.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard, so here's where the Flyers stood going into the holiday roster freeze. They had 23 men on their roster, so that is a full roster. The way the roster freeze works, and I had to go through the weeds to dig into this morning, so now I can talk about everything. So you can't trade, waive, or demote anyone during the roster freeze. You can recall players. You are allowed to do that. That is the one thing you are allowed to do. And this is an interesting thing. During the roster freeze, you are permitted during this week, you are allowed to have more than 23 men on your active roster. You are allowed. Now, the caveat, though, and this is where I think the Flyers ran into their issue, you can do that, but you still have to remain cap compliant.
Aha.
You still have to stay under the cap or at least remain cap compliant if you're tapping in LTIR. The way I think the Flyers looked at it was they only had 12 forwards. If there were to be a couple forwards get banged up, say, on Saturday against Columbus, and then suddenly you only have 10 healthy forwards for the game in Pittsburgh on Monday, yes, you could have recalled guys because you can exceed the 23-man thing. But to recall those guys, you would have had to basically start tapping in a long-term injury reserve, which they don't want to do. By sending Andrae down, and if they already knew, based on conversation with John Tortorella, that Tortorella had no intention of playing Andrae, at least on Saturday and probably not on Monday, then, hey, why not send him down? Whatever. Let's make it so we have no chance at all of tapping in LTIR. I think that is the roster freeze cap reasoning for this. However, and this is where you get into the other side of it, which is the player evaluation side of it, is I don't think Andrae would have even been a consideration for this cap roster maneuvering had John Tortorella not scratched him for 3 games
Yes.
leading into the roster freeze.
Yes.
And I personally don't think that scratching was justified.
No, this is a John Tortorella problem. And did Andrae have a stellar game last night? No, absolutely not. However, I think it's clear to everybody and the people watching the games at home that the best version of the defense that we've seen this year included Emil Andrae and Cam York. Have both of those players struggled over the last couple of weeks? Yes. You tried to fix it last night by taking one of them out and putting one of them in. The problem is you're not putting back the combination that was good before.
Yeah.
So you got to take, I don't know what we're so obsessed with Yegor Zamula for, because like he hasn't been blowing the world up either. Like he's been fine, but like I don't know how you could watch the team and think like, oh, we're really going to lose something if we take Yegor Zamula out of the lineup. Like that's just crazy to me. So I don't know why we're not just going back to what was very clearly the most effective version of the defense that we had all season.
I just don't understand. And Bill, maybe you can talk this through with me because maybe you saw something different. Maybe I know Kelly did it. That's why I'm saying not you. I know you
okay.
agree with me.
Yeah.
But I still, at its core, don't understand what Andrae did that was so bad that required him to get taken out of the lineup in the first place.
Yeah,
No.
He was getting 20 minutes a night. The underlying numbers were great. Now, was he maybe not quite as good as he was in mid-November when he was playing his absolute best? I can accept that. I can accept that there was some regression. But you look at the play driving numbers, he was still leading into the scratch. He was above 50% expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5 in 9 of his previous 10 games. There was only one game he came in below 50%. Maybe John Tortorella saw something that he thought was concerning enough that he wanted to nip it in the bud. Like, I get that. I fully acknowledge John Tortorella knows more about the, X's and O's sport of hockey than I do. Like, I'm not going to act like I know more than him on that. But what I can say is that it wasn't manifesting itself in bad results. It wasn't.
No.
The Flyers were still driving play and doing well on the ice with Emil Andrae on the ice before the scratching. I just don't understand why he felt the need to pull him out of the lineup right then when he wasn't, in my mind, playing that poorly.
And that's my very first theory about Andre's initial coming out of the lineup, was that he got hurt because he got absolutely rocked by Olivier in that game against Columbus before he came out of the lineup. Then you're telling me, he's at practice, he's in a regular jersey, he's not in the non-contact, he's doing all the things. It's just like he's paired with Eric Johnson right now.
And the reason why you thought he might be hurt is because it was so inexplicable to take him out of the lineup otherwise.
The one thing I thought he was struggling with was the power play. Like, all of a sudden, he didn't look like the answer on the power play.
I'd agree with that.
But also, who is?
Right. The power play is bad.
It's god-awful. It's as bad as it was last year. Michkov, and we'll talk about his slump in a little bit, with him not at the height of what we've seen of him, the power play is terrible. Emil Andrae or Chris Pronger or Alex Ovechkin could not fix this power play. It's just freaking bad. So my next theory now is this is just about backing cap space. During the roster freeze, does that continue?
Isn't it
a normal time?
$30,000?
You do. And they'll bank some space, and I do suspect that they are being extra careful with that, given the fact that they don't know how the Ryan Johansson thing is going to play out. Some of that cap hit is probably going to go back on their books. Right now, it is completely gone. The contract has been terminated. The NHL has approved it. But I think everybody knows that at some point, they're probably going to agree on a settlement, and some of it is going to get put back on the Flyers' books. So, yeah, again, I get the cap implications. I get the cap considerations. But would this have even been a consideration had he not been scratched for 3 games? I don't think so, which then brings you back to the why was he scratched in the first place question.
What are we doing with this $30,000 that they're going to bank?
I mean, you would like to bank as much space so that when Michkov's bonuses kick in, they don't roll over to next year. You would like to not have that be an issue.
Bonus overages is one of the things. With the deadline, we saw last year, they're a conduit for the Noah Hannafin trade.
True.
Yeah,
you back a little something there.
Pick up
you
an
get
extra
a mid-round pick or whatever.
It just seems like such a small amount of money.
It is. He's $900K against the cap. I think it's $903 is for some reason that extra $3,000 on Andre's contract.
Extra special bonus.
That has something to do with it. I thought perhaps they know or got word that there could be a Johansson settlement ruling, whatever, coming down at some point in the near future, and they want to be prepared for that.
It's kind of late, though, because the thing is that when the settlement comes through, it's going to be retroactive to the start of the season.
Charlie, I'm just trying to think of what it could possibly be.
Here's the thing.
The Occam's razor, Bill. The most obvious answer to this is John Tortorella, for some reason, decided that he thinks Emil Andrae is playing poorly, despite the fact that all of the available statistical evidence tells us he's
eyeballs. This is my problem. So we have over the course of this season gotten several good John Tortorella moments when having John Tortorella as your coach is a positive. Here we are back in the negative John Tortorella land, where it seems very clear to me that he has just decided he doesn't like this guy. He doesn't like that he's small. He doesn't like that he dresses like a Bond villain. He doesn't like that he's all the same color on his head. I don't know. He just doesn't like him for some reason. And I don't think it can be his play because John Tortorella has eyeballs and the team played better with him there.
Yep.
So if it's not that, he just doesn't like something about him. And John Tortorella has a thing where if he does not like you, that like it's pretty much that's it for you. And this is annoying in this case because we can all see that it's a bad decision, and I don't really understand what the deal is.
I don't know. And like, listen, I disagree with him coming out of the lineup. I think, especially while you're doing things like you're doing with Kolosov, where it's, we're developing him in the NHL, and Drysdale, we're developing him in the NHL. Like, maybe give Andrae that opportunity because he's been considerably better than both of them.
Yeah.
It's the fact that he's one of him and Forster are the only waiver exempt guys left, I think, on the roster.
And Michkov.
And of Kolosov, but like that's he's exempt.
And,
but
it's four. It's Forster, Michkov, Kolosov, and Andrae. Well, now Andrae isn't on the roster.
There's reasons you can't send two of those three other guys down.
It's an interesting point. Actually, no, you make your point, then I'll make another.
I just think, like, I have no idea why he was scratched to begin with, other than I thought he was hurt. Maybe they just want to give him a little reset, banged up. I don't think it's that Torts doesn't like him, because there's a lot to like about the skill set. It's why he made the team last year.
There is evidence that he likes him.
I think.
He just may not like him now.
He's decided.
I just think he's not sold on him as, like he said about Cam York at the start of last season, who then became like his number one defenseman in the second half. I'm not sold on him as an 82-game set-and-forget guy. And those sorts of guys come out of the lineup sometimes. You can disagree with it. I do. I think even if he's not, well, let's turn him into one. Let's just see if he can be one. That's his thought process. And that gets to, well, if he's not going to play, put him in the AHL.
I agree with that part.
I think there could be some other underlying things. The Johansson situation crossed my mind. The Festivus miracle. What if Ryan Ellis is coming back, baby?
Come on.
He's not. He's not. It was just a funny joke to annoy Charlie I put in the outline.
I have another one to annoy Charlie when you're done talking.
My last one is, and I'm going to get into a little bit about the physicality Michkov has dealt with. We're going out west. The first game after the trip is Saturday in Anaheim. Who does Anaheim have? Jacob Trouba, Radko Gudas.
Oh, God.
Nick Delorier is on IR. Maybe he's going to dress. Just a thought.
Okay, but
just a thought.
There's no indication that Delorier is coming back. The fact that he hasn't been seen on the ice since the injury does strongly imply that this injury is
real.
legit.
It absolutely does. There's also like a week between now and then. Like, that's the 28th. This is just, I'm trying to think of things to make the entire situation make sense, Charlie.
Okay.
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt until that Saturday. And you should join us on Saturday. It's going to be a great time. That Saturday after Christmas, the 28th, Glen Mills, Heroes Bar. It's going to be a great time. We're going to start at 4 o'clock. Watch party, live show. You know how we do. Heroes Bar and Grill in Glen Mills. Come on out. Going to be a ton of fun. I can't make the initial decision make sense, and now I'm trying to wrap it all up into one thing.
I thought of something.
What did you think of?
Remember when John Tortorella out loud was like, Charlie, he's not a top 4 defenseman.
Some people have made this point.
Charlie's
now
fault?
he's spiting you.
They're blaming me for this.
You did this.
Yeah.
He decided, I can't have Charlie thinking this kid's a top 4 defenseman. He's absolutely not. I'm going to show Charlie
Trust
O'Connor.
me, Kelly, you are not the only person to bring that up to me.
I thought I was being
I
creative.
have gotten probably somewhere between 5 and 10 people across Twitter and Blue
serious
Sky.
way?
I think it's a joke,
I hope
but
it's a joke.
There might be like about 10% seriousness there, that actually this is John Tortorella annoyed that people were
Trying
giving
to
Andrae
spite
too much
Charlie
credit.
O'Connor.
It might not even just be me. It might be everyone to be like, oh, you think this kid's real good? All right, well, guess what? I got to knock him down a few pegs because I can't have him thinking he's this good.
No. Could never have that.
Could never have that.
No.
But like one thing I was thinking about when you were talking about the waiver options they have. If I am Emil Andrae, and I hope that Emil Andrae doesn't have this attitude, because this is not an attitude that will play well with John Tortorella, and the Flyers will get annoyed by it. But I would totally understand if Emil Andrae looks at this situation and says, okay, maybe I wasn't playing my best, but the only reason why I am getting sent down and Alexei Kolosov isn't is because Alexei Kolosov is threatening to take his ball and go home.
That's
and
true.
I'm not. So you're telling me that if I go up and say, I'll go back to Sweden if you send me down, then I won't get sent down? There's a little bit of a double standard here.
This is a very good point.
And I can understand if Andre's a little bit peeved about that.
Yeah, because John Tortorella does not like when you get uppity with him. So why have we allowed Kolosov to do this? And if Emil Andrae apparently pouted because he got scratched.
Because Fedotov stinks.
Is Kolosov that much better? I mean, I think his upside is higher.
No, but
has
he's
he played that much better?
No, but he may have a future, and in the future, Fedotov is going to be third.
Oh, I understand why Danny Briere would make the decision that Kolosov matters more than Fedotov. I understand why Danny Briere would make the decision that, look, sorry, Emil, you got to take the hit here because we got to bend over backwards to keep this kid happy. I also just would understand why Emil Andrae might be like, well, that's BS. I don't care about that. I care about me, and I care about playing in the NHL, which is what I want to do. And by being the good soldier, I'm getting screwed here.
Life's not fair.
Fair, but it should be fair.
I understand that, Charlie. That's what I would say if I was Danny Briere. Yeah, man, maybe we'll find a way to make it up to you on the back end. But all right, before we go any further, I got to tell you about our friends at Game Time, baby.
Ooh.
This Saturday, there we go. This Saturday, that's right, the 21st. It's the last time the Flyers are home until the new year. It's like the second week of January. So if you want to get out there and see them up close, you got to use the #1 secondary market ticket app on the web. It's Game Time. Game Time has their new feature, Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets for live events even easier, filters out the fluff so you only get incredible deals on great seats and don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And we still have all the same old features that made it such a great place to see all your live events. From the all-in pricing, the seat views, the low price guarantee, and the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
And while we're here, why don't I tell you, maybe John Tortorella, could chill. Maybe he just needs to chill, take the holidays, take a step back, and find those Blue Mountains in his fridge, because I understand it's a hard job. It's a hard job being the coach of this team. We all need to choose to chill sometime, and there's no better way to chill than with an ice-cold Coors Light. So whether you're freaking out about your youngest defenseman not doing everything you need him to do, your goalies all sucking, whatever it is, you need to find those Blue Mountains in your fridge and enjoy a beer as cold as the Rockies, because when everything surrounding your favorite hockey team is on fire, sometimes you just got to chill. Make the most out of times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Find a store near you by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY Hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. All right.
So where the hell were we?
The Emil Andrae thing, it's going to take up a lot of oxygen today.
There's always a saga with the Flyers.
Has to be.
The big pushback I've gotten on social media, and I really haven't been on social media ranting about this too much. I've mostly confined my complaints to a Word document outline that I'm writing an article about this.
Like and subscribe.
But the pushback I've gotten when I've hinted that I don't particularly care for this move, and I think Andrae has been playing pretty well, despite the fact that John Tortorella clearly disagrees. The argument I've gotten is, yeah, he's been playing terribly, and the only reason why you think he's been good is because the advanced analytics, and you care too much about them. They're not that important.
Can we talk 1 second? I'm sorry to derail you.
Okay.
These advanced analytics, they are actual results.
Yes.
These are things that happen.
That happened on the ice.
Scoring chances.
Being counted.
Everything that goes, it's a numerical value on the actual events of the game. It's not some nebulous number that's being made up.
No. Also, I got to tell you, Sam,
anyway,
I don't look at them ever, and I know that the team was better with Emil Andrae on it. You don't have to be a genius.
And this is the thing that we've gone over, and it's the same thing with the Cam York scratch. It's just the way everything slots in.
Yes.
It makes it work. But go ahead, Charlie.
Yes, please.
So my response to that is this. I am more than willing to acknowledge that advanced stats are not perfect. I do not only pay attention to advanced stats. I obviously watch every game twice, actually, because I go back and track them a second time at double speed. So I actually watch the games twice. I acknowledge that advanced metrics are not perfect, and that, if a guy has a 52% Corsi 4 and expected goals 4 percentage, that maybe that's overrating him a bit. Maybe the stats aren't quite capturing it because it's a small sample, because the private models of expected goals are better than the public models that we get access to. I acknowledge that maybe in reality, the guy who I look at and I say, yeah, 52%, pretty good, is actually a 47, 48% guy and isn't that good and probably doesn't deserve the kind of defense that I'm maybe giving him. I fully acknowledge that there are error bars with advanced metrics. However, the metrics that Andrae has put up in the NHL, and this is why there are so many people online that are really mad about the move. The metrics that Andrae has put up in the NHL at 5-on-5 are so good that they outweigh the possibility of error bars.
If you were to knock them down,
you knock,
they go from great to good.
You knock his 5-on-5 expected goal share when he's on the ice. You knock his 5-on-5 shots on goal share, if you want to talk about things that you can actually see on the scoreboard when you're at the arena. If you're talking about his 5-on-5 actual goal share, the actual goals that are scored when he's on the ice, if you knock all of those down 5 percentage points, he's still at 55% for each of them. And 55% is like elite, legitimately high-end player. Even if you acknowledge that advanced stats don't capture everything about a player, you can say that, okay, we'll give you 5-6 percentage points that maybe they're overrating him. And even if you give that to him, he's still a really good player. The numbers that he's put up are not just good. They are fantastic. And that's why it's so inexplicable that, because I know John Tortorella isn't looking at these numbers every day, but I do know that his assistants are, and I know that they're seeing this stuff, and there's no way that they're not telling him, hey, John, by the numbers, Emil's doing real well. Something about his play has got Tortorella thinking, oh, no, they're wrong, I'm right, he's actually struggling, he needs to get out of the lineup. And the fact that his numbers are this good and Tortorella is disagreeing this vehemently is not only bizarre to me, it's also concerning.
What it tells me, and this, again, just guessing, can't get in that guy's head, he's nuts. What it tells me, it's a lot like when Michkov was scratched. And it was, there's just stuff we want him to watch, but it was like something specific. Yeah. At that time, we were told as the F3, point man pinches, you need to be backing up, you need to be covering that point. And he sits a couple games, and honestly, I think the entire team has made more of a point to do that. It's honestly the defensemen who are having the most trouble, I think, reading those plays right now. But I think there was a concerted effort after that from the whole team.
I think it was
that maybe it's something specific. It was one thing with Andrae.
The Michkov thing just as much was a message to Michkov, but it was also a message to the team by saying this is how serious we are about addressing this problem, that we're even going to bench the Golden Boy.
I can't remember if it was you, Bill, or somebody else that I read this from their brain. Could this be less about Andrae specifically and more that they don't like the idea of a defense made up of Andrae, Drysdale, and York, who are all three not big? I mean, I think that's stupid, but is it possible that John Tortorella is too many small?
Keith Jones has told us their model, if they had it their way, it would all be dudes Sanheim size and bigger. And obviously far more physical than him, but just in terms of measurables, it would be guys who look like Travis Sanheim on steroids.
So here's the one thing I will say to that, is that I believe this was a couple weeks ago. It was right before Drysdale came back in. And Kevin Kerr specifically on the record asked John Tortorella that, and he straight up said no.
Oh.
Now, here's the thing. Coaches lie all the time, especially to the media. So it is possible that it is actually playing a role and that Tortorella doesn't like the makeup of the defense when all three of those guys are in. That is possible.
It was Kurt.
But I know Kurt tweeted it out on skeeted it on Blue Sky or whatever. But point being is that he was asked about that. He said, no, it's not a consideration. Now, maybe he's changed his mind. Maybe he was lying. But he was asked about it.
Thanks, Kevin, for asking my question.
Charlie, just to your thought about Kolosov and how Andrae could be taking that, I've been better than him. Why doesn't he go down?
I would be ticked off
Yeah.
if I was Andrae. I would.
I want to get your opinion on this tweet I got. Like, it was a reply hours later to a in-game tweet where, like, Joel Farabee just, like, had a bunch of open ice in front of him and decided to, like, make a pass that was never going to get there, and it didn't. And then, like, at noon today, Adam S. tweets, the fact that Farabee hasn't been demoted off line one yet screams double standard in the accountability department. If you're on line one, you must produce, period. Force Mish and TK to play left wing. Now, forget the last part of that. We can talk about that when we talk about Mish, maybe. But is there a double standard there where some guys... I mean, Joel Farabee has been held accountable on multiple occasions by this coach.
Yes.
My answer to this, I didn't reply because I knew we were going to get to it on the show. Joel Farabee, 367 NHL games played, 24 for Emil Andrae. It's that, money in the bank thing.
Well,
deposits, withdrawals.
It could be that, but as you said, Joel Farabee's been punished in the past as well. To me, it's... What I'll say straight up is that at times during John Tortorella's tenure as Philadelphia Flyers head coach, there have been players who certainly believe that John Tortorella has double standards, that there are some guys that get held to a certain degree of accountability and other guys who don't. And that is a point of frustration on the part of at least some players in that locker room. That is true. However, I hesitate to call it a double standard more than just it's whatever John Tortorella is thinking about a given player at any given time. Like, is it a double standard? I don't think John Tortorella views it as a double standard because I don't think John Tortorella in his head is thinking, well, Joel Farabee's playing like crap and I'll cut him a break, and Emil Andrae's playing great, but I'm going to treat him like he's playing like crap. I think John Tortorella honestly believes that Joel Farabee's playing well and he's just snake bitten, and Emil Andrae is not playing well. So I don't think it's a double standard in his mind. I just think he might be wrong about things sometimes.
And that's to Kelly's point about how he gets a bug up his ass, the coach sometimes.
Yeah.
Just has a thought in his head, and that's the way it is.
Yep.
Scott Hartnell, I can't remember what show it was on. He did an interview, and he was talking about his time in Columbus with Torts. And he's like, Torts would just bench me for like the last few minutes of a game. He would just go, I don't trust you out there. You do too much dumb stuff. Like, I just cannot trust you at the end of games. I cannot trust you at the end of games. You've made these mistakes, blah, blah, blah. And he'd bench him. And he's like, Coach, I don't know what you're talking about. And listen, like, Scott Hartnell, not a genius out there. But
he did a lot of dumb things on the ice, to be sure.
After weeks of this going on and Hartnell protesting, Torts comes up to him and goes, I watched the tape. You're right. I still don't trust you, though. And so he continued, but it was like, the thing we like about him is he's a fiery maniac. Like, I see myself coaching, reacting a lot of the ways he would,
Right.
Like, it's what we like about him. But maybe Andrae doesn't get sent down. Like, there's the roster freeze coming up. It's like immediately after the game. What are you thinking? Are we going to do this? Briere comes up to him, and John just lost 7-3. He's like, F him.
Yeah.
It's
like, I don't trust him.
And then if there's no roster freeze, he watches the tape this morning in the comfort of his office or his home and goes, it was really just that one mistake.
Yeah, he did some good things.
Yeah, he did some stuff. Like, maybe it's that simple, where it was immediately after the game, there's a deadline, and he's like, no, I'm done with this. I'm pissed. We just got killed. Like,
that's actually a very fair point.
I'm mad at someone. He's the one we can take. Like,
yes.
I just wonder, but then that gets back all the way to the original, why was he scratched in the first place?
Yeah.
And we don't have an answer. I'm sticking with he got hurt in the Columbus game, and then it was one of those, I'm continuing to sit you out because we want to get Zamula in. Like, that's it. That's all that makes sense.
I think my frustration point at its core, because I've seen a lot of people make comments on social media, and I get it. It's a controversial move. It's a move I disagree with. So I understand why people are throwing out, comprehensive statements about how this is a betrayal of what the Flyers are trying to do. I don't think this betrays the rebuild, because I think you can actually make an argument that they believe this will be beneficial to Andrae's development. So I don't think this is like, oh man, they're not rebuilding. I also don't think like this means that, you're being lied to or anything. I just think it's a dumb move because it makes the team worse in the here and now without Emil Andrae on the roster. Like, even if we're going to take the most charitable view of this, and we're going to say that He's going to be back up on December 28th once the roster freeze is over. They're just banking cap space. That's still 2 more games they played without, in my mind, one of their better defensemen on the ice. And guess what? They're in a bubble playoff race. Every point matters, and you just made your team purposely, made your team worse for at least 2 games, if not more, by removing Emil Andrae from your roster when you could have just waived Ivan Fedotov. Nobody's going to claim him most likely, and kept Emil Andrae and played him in both of these games.
I want to
That's my issue with
say
it.
one more thing about this, and then I'm going to go to a break, and then I want to come back and talk about Cam York,
Okay.
just so I know where we're going.
Fair.
Maybe John Tortorella, after, what's this, year 3? 2.5 years of coaching this team, he's looking at his roster and going, you know what we need to do? Tank.
Oh, now John Tortorella's in on
Maybe
the
John
tank?
Tortorella is actually leading the tank.
He's driving
I'm gonna
the
keep
tank.
throwing the bad goalies out there. I'm going to sit our better defensemen. Who knows?
Why
All right.
not?
Before we go any further with the show, I got to tell you about our friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Somehow the lead into this is always perfect because we're constantly talking about the coach. But we all know how hard it is to win without proper coaching. And if you've got kids, TrueMark has the ultimate playbook for teaching financial responsibility with a free Greenlight account. The Greenlight app is changing the game, helping kids and teens learn how to earn, save, and spend wisely. They can set up savings goals, track their spending, and even get an allowance all right there in the Greenlight app. And the coolest part, each kid gets their own debit card so they can make purchases and learn real-world money skills while you stay in control from your phone. You get peace of mind, and they get the freedom to make smart decisions with their money. It's like coaching your kids through their very own financial game, and for TrueMark Financial members, it's free. With the holidays right around the corner, literally just 5 days away from Christmas, now is the perfect time to introduce your kids to Greenlight. So get signed up today. Visit TRUMARK.com/Greenlight for more information. Before we get back to the show, you know what time it is. I keep looking at the wrong camera. 1-800-588-2300 Empire. With Empire today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. I've been telling you for over a year now that this is the #1 place to get new flooring. You know it. That's why that jingle's been stuck in your head your whole life. Empire, they have the best product team in the business. They exhaustively comb through thousands of samples each year because what they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in. And you can see all these styles with the virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy, just snap a picture, instantly see how new flooring will look in your room. So schedule a free in-home estimate today, and all listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY for details. All right. The Cam York end of this now.
Yeah, that happened too.
Yeah, so he sat last
It's been
night.
an eventful 24 hours in Flyers
Yeah, what
world.
the heck?
It just reminded me, like,
Can't we just be normal?
it's...
No, they can
it's-
never be normal, Kelly.
We are, 14, 15 months removed from the coach going, I don't know if he's an everyday NHL player. And listen, I think it's a reset thing. I don't expect him out of the lineup for 4 straight games. That would be insane. Anaheim's around the corner. This is one of those dumb things that I said I was going to get to that make you roll your eyes. Cam York from Anaheim, California.
Oh, no.
He
The
is.
Flyers on the 28th in Anaheim, California.
They are.
If he does that, I'm just going to lose my mind.
I mean, unless they bring Andrae up, they literally can't. I mean,
Right.
I guess we need to get EJ a game, but it's like, yeah.
He could. I mean, would you be
in your
surprised?
hometown.
Would you be surprised?
No, I would not be
I would
surprised.
be
I wouldn't be
surprised if Cam York is sad again this season.
He has a track
Not
record of doing
incredibly
this.
surprised. Like, I wouldn't be blown away. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be like, oh my God, I just lost my house betting against it. But I would be surprised if York sits again this year.
Andrae getting sent down does imply that this was just a one-game thing. And the fact that York is, while not an old player, he is an established NHLer at this point, it does imply that he's not necessarily the kind of guy who he's going to make a point to scratch for 2 weeks. Like that, I feel like is reserved for young rookies that are not established and Morgan Frost. Those are the two groups of people that he does that to. Cam York is not in either one of those groups, so I do think it's likely he's back in on Saturday, unless, as Kelly said, unless they want to throw Eric Johnson in and just go with it. Look, other
Other teams don't do this, right?
No, they don't.
No.
No.
Like, this isn't a thing where your number 2 defenseman is just like, you ain't playing tonight,
No.
bro.
And the fact that he did this, and we're all just like, yeah, like on the scale of like 1 to torts, this is like a
3.
4.
Yeah.
This is like not that big of a deal. Whereas for most teams, this would be like the story of the winter.
Capo Caco, who isn't that good, like his career high is 40 points. He gets sat once.
Yeah.
And listen, it's New York, and they're going through their own problems right now, but it's headline news. And to the point where he says something to the media and immediately gets traded. It's like Cam York, a guy who we think is probably going to get like a long-term contract extension this summer. Just benching him.
I have a proposal right here, because this just hit me.
Oh, God.
For a bit that we should do on the PHLY Flyers show.
I love
forward.
bits because I can never come up with
I think that we should have a graphic made. Obviously not now, Brenna. I'm not going to tell you to do this
Brenna,
now.
write it down.
I think we should have a John Tortorella scale, a one torts scale.
Yes.
That is good
With
stuff.
10 being just towards his head.
Yes.
And then whenever he does something outlandish, which he always does, we can debate on what grade it deserves from 1 to torts.
Go
Did-
into that
did he
USA
go
Today
full
game
torts?
and get like a nice red face from when he was yelling at the ref. Find a good red face John Tortorella for 10
Yes.
and then go from there.
The middle finger
good stuff.
is a 5.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
5 for
that's-
torts, yeah.
Well, because I would give the York scratch probably about a 3 or a 4.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah, it
say
was not at all surprising.
not. Whereas I would give the Andrae initial scratch probably a full torts
Really?
because
Well,
it's
Cam
so
York was
inexplicable
bad.
to me.
Yeah, that's the thing. Cam York was like actively bad for several games in a row. So when he got scratched, it was like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
like a normal coach probably doesn't do that, but we
No,
know John
but we
Tortorella isn't normal.
get it,
So
right.
in the world of John Tortorella, it's a reasonable thing to do. Whereas like scratching the guy who basically fixed your second pair for no real reason aside from he's annoyed with him. Scratching your captain in the middle of a playoff race, like that's going full torts.
I guess because, like I always say, the three of us been doing this a long time. Like, we lived through together the Ghost and TK. Remember that day? Like,
Yeah.
the Ghost and TK both scratched game?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, I just expect young players to be treated this way.
Yeah.
And now with John Tortorella as the coach, I really expect it. I can't get his... It's bad. I just can't be as up in arms about it. Now, if Andrae isn't back for the trip, I will be mad. But
Retroactive
now,
to
yeah,
today,
like
yes.
right now, I can't do it because like a few games here and there for a young guy, yeah, fully expect that.
Okay, so going back to Cam York.
Now to York.
I think we all generally agree that his play, especially over the previous 2 games leading into the one where he was scratched, was very poor.
Yeah.
And that even if not every team would have scratched Cam York, that you can at least you can understand why John Tortorella would. John Tortorella is a coach who believes that healthy scratches can serve a teaching and or motivational value to a play. So to me, I went into that press conference fully expecting that Cam York was probably going to be scratched. It wasn't a surprise to me. Now, if the coach of the team was Pete DeBoer, then maybe I would have been surprised. But it's John Tortorella. I was
Sounds
kind
relaxing.
of expecting it.
We legitimately talked about it on postgame before that. Like, it was the day before, and we were like, oh, I wonder if this is like, it was kind of a joke. But like, oh, I wonder if this is how they get Andrae back in the lineup.
Yeah.
And I think that
And
makes
it
it a little.
was.
I think that makes it a little less ridiculous too, like just in our perceptions. It's like, well, we wanted Andrae back, like, and we have
Fair.
this defense thing going on, but it is also. How much does Zamula
Not
need
like
to
this
play?
meme
You know?
from the
Like,
Matrix.
Not like
Not
this.
like this.
Not like
yeah,
this.
I just,
Not like this.
Kelly, what are your thoughts on the York scratch? Were you okay with it?
I mean, I was fine with it because he played like crap, and we've come to be conditioned that when you play really bad, John Tortorella is going to sit you for a game. So, like Bill said, we were talking about it. It was kind of expected to happen,
Yeah.
so I didn't care. I didn't think it needed to be more than one game
So-
because, as you said, he's an established NHLer.
So
Like,
if he is still scratched on Saturday against Columbus, what are your thoughts?
so that means we're getting Eric Johnson in?
I guess so. He's the only one left.
Oh, I don't know.
and that's
I don't know
Like,
what. You
not-
would have to be out of your mind.
that to me is
That's punitive
that's
at
going
that point.
above. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
silly.
Okay.
Simply because not, if for no other reason. Not only did he miss one game, he missed half of the previous game.
It's basically a game and a half.
Yeah.
Scratch
He came
at this
out,
point.
I
That's
think
fair.
his last shift ended with like 7:55 left in the second. That's essentially 30 minutes of a game that he missed. And then he missed the entire next game. That's enough. It's like when a dude gets kicked out for like a hit from behind in the first period. And it's like, well, he was basically suspended for a game already. Like, you can't, this is now 2.5 games? No, that's insane. I fully expect him back in the lineup.
If it's for Eric Johnson, then I'm going to agree that he's driving the tank, like 100%. If you're
Honestly,
scratching Cam York for Eric Johnson, then yeah, tank's on.
I got a text during post game last night from my, I always call my good friend Frankie my collaborator.
Frankie!
And he didn't watch the
Frankie. We love
game.
Frankie.
He didn't
love
watch
Frankie.
the game, and then he tuned into post game and goes, "He scratched Cam York? He's tanking." Like that's maybe he's got a grand plan.
I mean, let's be honest here. He did enter last night's game, and this is LA. This is one of, at least by record, one of the best teams in the NHL. He entered last night's game with his top two pairs as Nick Seeler, Rasmus Ristolainen, and Travis Sanheim, Jamie Drysdale.
When you say it like that,
Like,
Might be
I
something to
like
it.
Nick Seeler a lot. He's
love
been
him.
on the third pair this year, the entire year, and he deserves to be. Ristolainen has had a good year. He's a number 4. Travis Sanheim, top pair defenseman this year. He's been playing real well. You put him with the guy who, like, 2 weeks ago, you basically said, he needs to learn how to play hockey.
Yeah.
And then gave him top 4 usage.
then you put Andrae and Zamula together.
Yeah.
Cool.
Those pairs last night
I'm just
are just
saying, like, I'm not saying that John Tortorella is trying to tank. I don't think he is.
No.
But if you had a coach who was trying to tank,
he'd do these
he'd
things.
do those things.
And I think that's a good way because we are through segment 1 of today's outline, and there's 14 minutes
Oh
left.
dear.
Beautiful. The Andre thing was obviously going to take
I
up
mean,
most of the
you'll be
conversation.
like
When he
that
gets-
sometimes.
It was a huge conversation
Yeah.
prior to him being sent down, and now he's at least on paper sent to Lehigh Valley, so it was going to take up 45 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
It's a good opportunity now to talk about the goaltenders. Wow.
They sure are playing in the goal.
And before we get to the goalies, actually, I wanted to make sure we got to this. Since we're talking about goalies, seems like the right time to shout out Jason Myrtetus. He tweeted, he's been saying on Flyers Daily he's had some health things recently.
It's been going on since
he's missed some
the summer.
shows.
Yeah. He's talked to me about it.
He tweeted around 11 this morning that he's been diagnosed with colorectal cancer. Prognosis appears to be good. He says they caught it early, so that's
great
awesome.
news, yeah.
But just wanted to throw out like some love to a colleague and straight up a really good dude.
A really nice guy.
Let him know you're in his corner. All one big orange and black family. Love you, Jason. All right, goalies. Wish we had him for this so we could actually get into it. But
He could go into the
he's-
technical
Exactly.
details of the goalie
it's like
position.
a
Or could we
reason-
maybe put him in net?
I don't know. He's real small.
What's
You think Kolosov small, Jason Myrtetus in that?
I know, but
real
he might
small.
be like Wiley.
so,
I mean, I'm sure in his
got
prime
moves.
he was wily.
So we talked. Starting with Kolosov, we talked about him last night, Charlie, and it was one of those games where, you can point to some big saves, you can point to some things that went well, but I had a problem with a few of the goals, and
One was a killer.
that the first Kopitar goal is
was real bad.
Real bad.
That's just I don't even know if that's a rookie mistake. I don't know what he's trying to do. He's lunges to cover the puck and just completely whiffs.
Yeah, but you
and
gotta
now
cover the puck.
Kopitar is able to tuck it in for an easy
I don't
tying
even know
goal
how
with a
that
minute and a half
happens.
left in the second.
He probably shouldn't have reached for it because it was a little bit further than was easily able for him to grab it. But if you're gonna reach for it, you gotta fully commit. You gotta
gotta get
lunge for that puck. You gotta, if you're deciding you're making that play, make that play. And he just did.
That was on top of, I thought, an earlier goal. Like, there was some stuff in front of the net where I'm like, I think it was like Frost and Drysdale. They were standing there, but not actually defending anyone, and they were able to like bang one home.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah,
also, he's on top of it. Be on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
like-
could have noticed that puck a little quicker. Sure.
It just not the best game. So Kolosov, his last 5 starts, I took out that Florida game because he comes in relief.
Yeah.
They got
Fair enough.
It was bad, but he's had 3 really good starts, 1 bad, 1 horrific. Comes out to an .891 save percentage.
Are you considering last night's game the horrific one?
Horrific,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, he lost them the game. They played as well as they could play for at least 38 and a half minutes against a very good team, and that goal was a killer. Like, there's a reason they came out the way they did in the third. It's because of that goal. .891 though over the last 5. He hasn't been horrendous overall, but he's given up some of those killer goals. You also look at Sam Ersson since coming back from the injury. It's only 4 games. 1-3-1 with an .828.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Fedotov's still here. You think he might be like in line for some action at some point?
I wonder.
Other than that Florida game, he was playing well.
Because, like,
I don't think he's good, but like who is?
right, like, the obvious thing to do is to send Fedotov down if you need a roster spot.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't makes me think that they're like, maybe none of these two are it right now. Let's see what the big guy's going to do. Although now he's rusty, so like it's going to be a real show if they put him back in, because he was pretty bad at the start. So
Yeah, but then he was real good
I know,
when he was
I felt
cold
like he was, like,
against
warmed
Tampa.
up. Oh, that's
So
true.
maybe he's not bad in those situations. The justification that we got from John Tortorella as to why Fedotov is still here was we're still not totally convinced yet that Sam Ersson isn't going to suffer a re-injury. And in fairness, Kolosov did get a little banged up in the game last night. You know, he winced a little bit on a save. Then they scored a goal right after. I don't think it had anything to do with it,
No,
because
that goal was
it was a weird deflection.
That
Ryan
was the Paling goal,
basically deflected it in on his own net, which great job, Ryan. But it
Nice
happens.
deflection.
Speaking
Well, I
of
mean,
double
it
standards,
happens.
a dude that will
It's
never
just-
get scratched.
It's just a bad luck play.
Yeah,
It makes you feel like crap for
His
Ryan
stick's
Paling.
in the lane and it
yeah,
hits him.
It happens.
Stuff happens.
But point being is that the explanation we've gotten is not, well, we're keeping him because we're going to play him. It's he's the 3. We're keeping him just in case Ersson suffers a re-injury. However, you make a fair point that Ersson ain't playing very well. John Tortorella before the game regarding Ersson basically said, in every game, Ersson probably should have stopped one more puck. And it's a small sample, so give him,
It's 4 games.
4 more saves.
Yeah.
Maybe his save percentage is up. I haven't done the math. Maybe it then is up in like the 900-ish range and everything seems okay. Not sure. But maybe it is opening the door for one of these next 2 games. Fedotov needs to play. At some point, he needs to play, whether it's here or it's in the AHL.
This is pointless.
You can't just stick him on the shelf for a month.
No, it's weird.
He's got to play some games. Maybe this does give you an opportunity to get him a game.
Unless they're trying to get him to ask for a mutual termination, like this is pointless. Just having him here not playing. Listen, I don't think he's going to end up being much of anything. Maybe he's got average backup in his future. I don't know, but like, what good is it not finding out anything?
And also, like, what are we going to lose putting him in and seeing what happens?
No, like, our best goalie for the last couple of weeks is at .891.
Yeah, so,
Like,
you know.
And it's a dude who isn't an NHL goalie.
Right.
He's just demanding to be.
Might as well see what happens.
This is all hindsight, so we can easily, like, oh, yes, of course this is what they should have done. The way they split up this back-to-back, just me and Steve were talking about this. I don't even know if we talked about it on the show, but we talked about it during the game.
Okay.
You knew it was going to be 1-1 because it's a back-to-back. 6 days prior, Kolosov plays one of his best games of the season against Detroit. You see Detroit again. You put Ersson in. I thought that was odd.
That was weird.
And then you have Kolosov, the dude we're developing in the NHL, even though we don't think he's an NHL goalie, against a far superior team in LA. Do you think it should have just been the other way around? I know it's easy to...
I'm of the opinion that this stuff really doesn't matter that much. Because you say, well, he had the great game against Detroit. Then why don't you play him against the same team? The flip side of that, and this might be the thought process, is, well, now they have tape
Now
on
they know
him.
who he is.
Now they can scour that tape to try to find weaknesses and exploit those in a game that happened a week later, so he's probably still dealing with the same flaws that he dealt with the week before. I'm not saying that was justification. I don't know. I'm just saying that goalies are voodoo, man. I'm not going to try to decide who's going to have a good game which night.
With hindsight, I'd go, yeah, that's what they should have done.
Yeah.
But also, it's goalies.
And it could have gone exactly the same way.
It could have gone worse.
Yeah, it's
They
true.
could have lost both games 10-0.
Yeah.
Like, it's the Flyers. Anything is literally anything a possibility. All right, only a few minutes left, so I do want to get to the Michkov stuff.
Okay.
Mostly because I want to...
Where is my son?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I need to say the Flyers video team, front office, a bunch of social media interns, whoever the hell, should be compiling a highlight reel of the purposefully uncalled penalties against Michkov and spamming the league office with this video on a daily basis. That trip after the whistle last
that was
night,
egregious.
It was really bad.
Choose not to call it. I don't know. Like, it's in front of everybody. The whistle blows. It's in front of the net. The goalie has the puck covered. What else is anyone looking at? A purposeful, not even just stick in the way. Pull and trip.
I thought it was a stick in the way at first, and I'm like, maybe he just treaded over it, whatever. No, they show the replay, and it is a stick it out and twist.
That is a 100% of the time before the whistle.
Yeah,
that is a penalty.
Yeah,
it's not just like, oh, you got roughing because like it was after the whistle. That's a penalty before the whistle.
Yep.
We've seen a bunch of this stuff. Now listen, he can dish it out too. But he seems to be penalized every time he dishes it out.
True. Yeah.
And every time someone gives it to him, like that butt end in Minnesota, nothing happens. It's fair game.
Cross-checked in the face on a Michigan attempt.
This is the kind of stuff that makes the NHL look Mickey Mouse.
This is one of those things that, listen, we know the officials are the way they are in all sports.
Get over it, you babies.
But the NHL is an old boys club.
Yeah.
This is the young rookie, all this stuff.
Right.
He's trying Michigan's. But this is something in my mind that Ed Snyder would like be banging on the office doors about.
You're not wrong.
Hey guys, you're gonna talk to me, or I'm gonna go. I own a TV station. I can do this in front of them too.
Also, like he's gonna get hurt at some point. Like you can't keep letting players do this to him.
That simple little trip, like he covers up. He could have easily fallen on his face.
Oh sure.
Like after the whistle, you're not expecting to not just to get the full jerk. You're not expecting that. That could have easily resulted in him falling flat on his face.
Yes.
Like, I just, that's one thing. But he's in a little bit of a slump right now.
He is.
First 14 games after that scratch, and like he was good really from the start. But those 14 games after the scratch, he responded the way you want. 7 goals, 10 assists. 12 of the 17 points were at even strength for all those people who say he's a power play merchant. And he was a plus 13. Like, he went from a minus player to a plus player over the course of a couple of weeks. In these last 4 games, and I realize we are talking about a 20-year-old rookie and a 4-game slump. It's not the end of the world here. But 0 points, minus 8. To me, it's just like a bummer. I fully expect him to get it going again.
Yeah, I do too.
Maybe tomorrow. Totally possible. Maybe on the trip, because we're going to see Celebrini and Cutter. We know how he likes to step up in certain situations like that. But this is just the last thing I want to be watching because he's literally the only thing that matters, at least in my mind as a fan. It's part of the growing process. It's 4 games. But it's his longest slump of the season. Yeah, we'll all live, but how we feeling? And do you think there's a chance with them going on the road soon? Like, unless he comes out against Columbus, the last home game for a while, he could be back to the press box. I think that's possible. I mean, it's possible, obviously.
Okay,
we just did a whole show about it.
I admittedly have Michkov colored glasses on. Like, I'm at the point in my Matvei Michkov watching career where he can't really do any wrong unless it's like extremely egregious. And I don't think I've seen him do anything like extremely bad. He's just not scoring. Am I correct in this, or has he done things that are actually bad?
I haven't seen him making egregious defensive errors or blasting the zone with any more regularity than he was doing before this mini slump. Right. I will say that I thought last night was the first time during this slump where I thought he was just not noticeable.
Yeah.
Which was concerning to me. Like the other games, I thought he was making plays. There were some nice passes. There were some nice moves. You know, people just weren't finishing. He was missing the net on some shots. I thought last night he didn't make an impact, which I don't like to see. I want to see Matvei Michkov make an impact every night. But even the best players have games. Even guys who are superstars have games where they just don't make that much of an impact. So I'm not going to kill him for it. I don't think they're going to scratch him because
I hope not.
To me, it's not like he's doing anything structurally egregious. He's just a guy who's in a bit of a slump. And look, Joel Farabee's been in like a 2-month-long slump, and they keep throwing him out there on the first line. So clearly, if they think a guy is doing good things offensively, but just not getting rewarded for it on the score sheet, they're not going to scratch him reflexively. I mean, unless your name's Morgan Frost and it's last season. But this year, Morgan Frost wasn't playing good at all, period.
No.
So I get why they did that. But I don't think they're going to scratch Matvei Michkov. But I didn't think they were going to scratch Emil Andrae either. So you never know with this coach.
Do you think it's time to shake up that line, maybe? Is that line just not working?
I think it's time to make some shakeups, period.
Yeah.
That's the third and fourth line are like going at a rate that I want to. I like the
I
fourth
like
line.
those
Those
two.
are your options. And the third line, if we had more time, I wanted to get into them on a whole thing today. But like we're at the hour mark now.
Yeah,
and
we've
gotta
got
hit-
some super chats.
We got
I
to
believe.
hit some super chats.
Got super
But
chats.
I just, if it's going to go this way, let's get Mish back up on the top line. I
Yes.
know it might not be ideal to have him 20 minutes with Couturier against other teams' top lines, but he is one of our 3 best players.
Yeah.
So like, maybe he should be up there.
And it can't hurt to try it and see what happens.
All right, let's hit these super chats
Super
before we
chats.
get out of here. I want to do this. Neil Stradamus chimes in. Let's see. A cheap beer for the holidays on
thanks,
me
Neil.
for you
Thanks,
guys.
Neil.
This honestly has been my favorite season since like 2012. Future finally looks bright. Stay awesome, fam. Let's go Flyers. Love it, Neil. Very much
I mean, if
appreciate you
Neil's
joining
been
us.
actually putting real money with Bet365 on his bets, he's just giving us a share of his winnings. That's all.
I mean,
That's true.
listen, he's the one winning. I'm the one getting my ass kicked by the sportsbook. He's the one making the predictions. He's definitely not tailing me. All right, let's hit this next one here from the one I can't. Who is Mike Mall? Drysdale obviously plays best on adrenaline. Think we should hook him up with Laterra before each
Don't know what you
game,
mean.
so he's amped and ready to
I
go.
truly didn't know where that was going.
Don't
and
know
then-
what you mean.
Oh, right. The
Yeah.
Laterra jokes.
I don't know.
Frosty the Snowman, man. It's that time of the season.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
boy.
Dreaming of a white Christmas for
Oh,
Jamie
dear.
Drysdale.
Beautiful.
All right,
Oh, no.
let's see this next one from Adam S. Emil gave Torts lip, didn't he?
I feel like he would like that.
Yeah, in all honesty, that would probably be something Torts would enjoy.
It
Yeah.
depends on what the attitude
That
is.
is fair.
And
Yeah, if it's whiny lip, he's probably not
I do
going
keep
to like
going
it.
back to last year when he got demoted and how they said like he just didn't quite have it right away with the Phantoms. Maybe he didn't react to these scratches right, and that's part of it. I don't know.
Could be. I think the reason
He's a lunatic.
the
I don't
reason
know.
why we're theorizing this, like I haven't heard anything that would tell me that he, sulked or anything like that. This is not me reporting it. The reason why these theories are being thrown out there is because the scratching is so
Makes no
otherwise tough to explain.
Right.
That's the reason why this is even a conversation, because it's like, well, the performance is fine. The team's better from a win-loss record standpoint when he's playing versus when he's sitting. So why does he keep sitting? Maybe Torts hasn't liked his attitude. The only reason why it's coming up is what I'm saying is the only reason why it's coming up is because the move is so questionable to begin with.
Yep.
And Torts really only has himself to blame for that.
All right, I want to thank our TV audience before we get out here. We just have one more super chat for you. It's from R. Park. It says, with the goalie situation, can we develop and use Fedotov? We are paying him NHL money. Not developing him is hurting the team. Look at the Tampa and Florida
Not
game.
wrong.
There really seemed at one point as if there might be something there. I think he should be playing somewhere just because,
Yeah.
look, we know what the Flyers are, right? Like, they're going to need a third goalie at some point, and I really don't want it to be Cal Peterson. Makiniemi's been hurt. I don't even know if he's back yet. Like, this is the guy. He's the number 3. If he's
Yeah.
not going to play in the NHL, play him somewhere. I find this odd, but we talked about this throughout the show. All right.
Thanks, R. Park.
That is all the time we have for you on the PHLY Flyers show, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Before we get out of here, real quick, Kelly, Festivus. Monday.
This Monday the 23rd at Xfinity Live. Come out and watch the Pens game with us. We're going to be raffling some stuff, including a pair of sweet tickets with parking from our friends at the Ed Snyder Youth Hockey Foundation. So come out and hang. It's going to be a good time.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the Reading Terminal Market for having us out here. Very much appreciated. Appreciate all of you watching. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Follow the podcast. My name's Bill Matz. That's Charlie O'Connor. That's Kelly Hinkle. Let's go Flyers.
We all silly like the mayor.